Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm Reverend Shorty, and today we're going to be looking at All Out Avengers, and with a title like All Out Avengers, and the art style we're going on there, and the fact that this first page is so heavily reminiscent of the Warren Ellis era of Authority, etc. We're probably talking a little bit about nostalgia for this one, and whether or not it's a force for good or bad, or whether it's weaponized. And yeah, certainly weaponized nostalgia is a bad thing. It quite often gets used by right-wing politicians and media outlets, basically talk about the idea that there was a point in the past where everything was better, and everything that's happening now, which is bad, is because it's not the same as when it was good. And that's basically an excuse to say, yeah, we made more money under slavery. And I don't want to conflate the same thing with comic books or any of the media, because yes, there is argument to be made that an awful lot of movies coming out at the moment might just be remakes, sequels, or using unoriginal IP. But there's also a lot of new stuff out there. And let's be honest, if you're reading comic books, especially from Marvel and DC, pretty much all you're reading is part of a long sequel of sequels. Sequence of sequels, should I say. And that just means you're always going to be reading stuff with the same kind of characters, same IP, going through similar but slightly different stories with different but similar team-ups, which is what we have here in All Out Avengers. Because you can still see you've got classics in there of Thor and Captain America, no Hulk, but Spider-Woman and Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, and who's in the corner there? Oh no, it's just Iron Man. Sorry, so Black Panther, sorry, down there. So yeah, you've got some familiar things in there, but what they do with it is certainly more fun than I think the usual Avengers. And they say at the back that this is kind of like the point of this series, in the way they were doing with some of the non-stop Spider-Man. It was the one they used, which is Amazing Spider-Man at the moment has a lot more going on, which is more soap opera than high-octane action. And when you have superheroes fighting evil, kind of having high-octane action should be, I think, a target that's worth firing for. And in this one, they do it by embracing the Ellis era kind of widescreen action comic books. I want to say widescreen, it's to put into words, think usually a 9-panel page be through as a 3. But if you cut all the vertical lines from it, so it's just lots of wide shots, so widescreen. And yeah, I mean, it's not like a universal thing. I mean, immediately to the page there, you've got more breaks, but you also do get a lot of big widescreen action. And when it does break the paneling up a little bit, it's usually for quick cuts into the fight scene. Rather wonderful stuff doing it with my favorite page, where it is just a bunch of widescreen shots, but then when it does the breakup, it's for frenetic action of Captain America being Captain America. So it handles all that brilliantly. The pacing of it is a delight. It's a treasure to read. The writing is actually quite funny as well, and not just the writing, not just the dialogue, but also presentation. There's quite a lot of physical humor and some just silly ideas that come across as well. One of my favorite bits is that first page I showed you there with Captain Marvel, who is it Darkhold or something? Sorry, I read this and I've already kind of forgotten what was going on with it. But it's basically she has been taken Dark Tide. That's she's taken over by the Dark Tide. And she basically asks which of the Avengers is next, either Captain America or Iron Man or Thor, and they'll just point at each other. And it's a very cool physical little joke. Doesn't really need like a whole set up punchline kind of vibe to it. It's literally just here is a funny thing that is happening, and that's kind of comedy I like in comic books. It doesn't need to be structured joke formats. You can just make things funny because they happen to be, including having just Spider-Man involved at any point, and Black Panther turning off the controls to the spaceship because he doesn't look like he'd be very good at piloting a spaceship, but him still holding out that he flew a spaceship and it being entertaining. But all that being said, there's also an actual story here, because if we are just talking over-the-top action, which is really, really well drawn, by the way. Greg Land, I think it is, who does the artwork for this one. He does this fantastically. But there's some quite nice bits of setup in here as well. And it's the kind of subtlety which works in a comic book which is this over-the-top and action-oriented and full of laughs, which means it's not that subtle at all. There is an overarching voiceover throughout, and it really doesn't take long for you to realize that this voiceover is actually part of the story, but you don't know who it is. It's maintaining an air of mystery, but it's also clearly in power at some degree. The comic book starts in the middle of the action, which I quite like, which includes Blade, Captain America, and Spider-Woman being teleported onto an alien spaceship. And it's freaking Blade out. He doesn't like that being teleported, and that's entertaining. It adds its own little humor to it anyway. Spider-Woman being absolutely fine with it. But it also is throwing off because he can't remember how he got here, like to the point where we'll be teleported. He remembers being teleported to the spaceship, but that's it. And it's confusing him, and Spider-Woman is kind of finding it odd that he's confused by it. But then the voiceover just comes in and says, well, no, we don't want to talk about this right now. We want to carry on with the action. Let's just ignore this. And that's enough for Blade to suddenly be okay with the fact that he got teleported to a spaceship. He stops worrying about it. the voiceover is doing more to alter the story than it seems the people actually in the comic book. And I quite like the fact that, yeah, again, not the most subtle of story rips, but it's fun and it works and it stays within the over and the genre they're trying to do. All in all, probably a lot of fun and probably the most fun I've had reading an Avengers comic book for a while. Two very enthusiastic thumbs up. That's it for me for the week. I will be back on Tuesday. Until then, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.